let me tell you something most people don't say out loud. The deepest disappointments don't come from strangers. They come from places where you invested your loyalty, your energy, your sleepless nights, and your belief. I remember the moment clearly. I walked into that space confident, not arrogant, not entitled, just confident. Because I had done the work. I had stayed late when no one was watching. I had carried responsibility without complaint. I had led without needing the title. And then it happened. They handed the leadership role to someone who started last month. No warning, no explanation that made sense, no acknowledgement of the journey I had walked. In that moment, something cracked. But something else awakened, because here's the truth we don't talk about enough. Sometimes life doesn't reject you. It repositions you. At first, I questioned myself. Was I invisible? Was I not enough? Did I misjudge my value? But then I realized something powerful. If the room couldn't recognize my leadership, maybe the room was too small. You see, when people underestimate you, they unknowingly give you a gift. They free you from expectations that were never aligned with your destiny. And that's when I activated Plan B. Plan wasn't revenge. Plan B wasn't bitterness. Plan B wasn't walking away angry. Plan B was choosing myself quietly, strategically, unapologetically. I stopped explaining my vision to people committed to misunderstanding me. I stopped waiting for permission to grow. I stopped shrinking to make others comfortable with my potential. Plan B meant I redirected my energy. From proving to building, from convincing to becoming, from waiting to moving. And let me tell you something important. Plan B doesn't mean you failed Plan A. It means you outgrew it. Leadership isn't given by a title. Leadership is how you carry yourself when you're overlooked. Leadership is how you respond when your ego is bruised but your spirit remains intact. Some people rise loudly. Others rise inevitably. I chose the second one because when you know who you are, you don't panic when doors close. You understand that closed doors don't stop destiny. They refine it. I didn't burn bridges. I didn't make announcements. I didn't beg to be seen. I worked. I learned. I expanded. And here's the beautiful part. The same people who overlooked me had no idea. They were watching my preparation phase. So if you're sitting in that space right now, feeling replaced, feeling unseen, feeling like your efforts were dismissed, hear this clearly. You are not behind. You are being redirected. Your Plan B might be the very plan that finally aligns you with your true power. Let them underestimate you. Let them misunderstand your silence. Let them think they made the final decision, because the moment you choose yourself, the story shifts. And one day, without shouting, without bitterness, without explanation, your life will answer for you. That's when they'll realize that they didn't pass you over. They pushed you forward. Rejection has a way of shaking the ground beneath your confidence, especially when it comes from a place you trusted, worked for, and believed in. When you are overlooked, passed over, or silently dismissed, the first reaction is often pain. It feels personal, it feels unfair, and it feels confusing. But here is the deeper truth most people discover too late. Rejection is rarely the end of the road. More often, it is a turn you did not expect, but desperately needed. Rejection is life's way of saying, this path is no longer aligned with who you are becoming. It is not a statement about your worth, your intelligence, or your ability. It is a signal, a redirection, a quiet push towards something bigger than what you were settling for without realizing it. Many people mistake rejection as failure because they see life as linear. Do the work, wait your turn, get rewarded. But growth does not work that way. That growth works in layers, in seasons, in uncomfortable transitions that force you to evolve. Sometimes the door closes not because you are unqualified, but because staying would limit your expansion. Think about how often rejection exposes truth. It reveals environments that value convenience over commitment, politics over purpose, or comfort over competence. When you are rejected, you are given clarity. You see where you stand, and more importantly, where you no longer belong. That awareness is painful, but it is powerful. Rejection also teaches self-trust. When external validation disappears, you are left with a choice. Either doubt yourself or anchor deeper into your own belief. This is where real confidence is built. Not when people applaud you, but when they don't. Not when things go according to plan, but when they don't. Redirection requires courage because it demands movement. It asks you to let go of familiar ground, predictable outcomes, and identities you may have attached to. You may have thought, this is where I'm supposed to be, only to realize that comfort was quietly in turning to confinement. That rejection breaks that illusion. There is also humility in redirection. It reminds you that life is bigger than any single role, title, or organization. What you lost was not your destiny, it was a position. And positions can be replaced, but purpose cannot. When you begin to see rejection as redirection, your energy changes. You stop chasing validation and start building alignment. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, where is this leading me? That shift alone changes everything. Some of the most powerful transformations begin with disappointment. The moment you did not get what you wanted often becomes the moment you discover what you truly deserve. Redirection sharpens your vision, strengthens your resilience, and prepares you for rooms that will recognize your value without hesitation. So when rejection shows up, do not rush to internalize it. Pause, reflect, listen. There may be a larger path unfolding, one that requires you to walk away from what is familiar in order to step into what is meant for you. Rejection is not life pushing you aside, it is life guiding you forward. There is a dangerous illusion many people unknowingly accept, the belief that worth is something granted by authority, confirmed by approval, or stamped by a title. It often shows up in conference rooms, performance reviews and promotions, and silent decisions maybe behind doors. When you walk out of those rooms, things feeling smaller than when you entered, it is easy to assume your value has been reduced. But the truth is far more powerful. Your worth was never on that table to begin with. No meeting, no panel, no manager, and no sudden decision has the authority to define who you are. Those spaces can decide roles, positions, and responsibilities, but they cannot measure your vision, your resilience, or your capacity to grow. When people confuse access with authority, they forget that leadership is not something assigned, it is something embodied. External validation is tempting because it feels immediate. Praise feels good, recognition feels reassuring, and promotion feels like proof. But the moment your sense of worth depends on those things, you give away your power. You allow temporary opinions to shape permanent beliefs about yourself. And that is a risk no one can afford. True worth is internal before it is ever external. It is built in moments no one applauds. It is formed in consistency, integrity, and quiet discipline. It grows every time you choose to show up fully, even when the outcome is uncertain. People may not see that work, but it does not disappear. It accumulates. It strengthens you. It prepares you. Meeting rooms often reflect priorities, not potential. Decisions are influenced by timing, comfort, familiarity, fear, and politics. Many choices have little to do with capability and everything to do with convenience. Understanding this frees you from personalizing outcomes that were never personal in the first place. When you stop allowing others to define your worth, your posture changes. You speak differently, you move differently, you stop seeking permission to exist at full capacity. Confidence becomes quieter but stronger. You no longer need constant reassurance because you know what you bring to the table, even when the table fails to acknowledge it. There is also dignity in self-recognition. When you honor your own value, you stop negotiating with environments that benefit from your self-doubt. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces that were never designed for your expansion. Instead, you begin to seek rooms that align with your depth, your pace, and your purpose. It is important to remember that many people will only value you at the level they value themselves. Their inability to see you is not evidence of your limitation. It is a reflection of theirs. When you internalize this, rejection loses its sting and comparison loses its grip. Your worth does not rise or fall based on someone else's readiness to recognize it. It remains steady, grounded, and intact. Titles may change, roles may shift, opinions may fluctuate. But your value, when rooted within, remains untouched. The moment you truly understand this, you become unstoppable. Because when your worth is self-defined, no closed door can diminish you, and no delayed recognition can discourage you. You stop waiting to be chosen because you have already chosen yourself, and that choice changes everything. There is a quiet shame people attach to the idea of plan B, as if having another option somehow means you did not believe enough in the first one. Society romanticizes the idea of sticking it out at all costs, waiting endlessly, proving loyalty, and calling endurance strength. But there comes a moment when persistence turns into self-betrayal, and that is where Plan B is born, not from weakness, but from wisdom. Plan B in you does not mean you gave up on Plan A. It means you paid attention. You observed the environment, you recognized the limits, you noticed the misalignment, and instead of clinging to a situation that no longer served your growth, you chose to evolve. Strategic people do not rely on a single path. They prepare, adapt, and reposition. Nature itself works this way. And when water meets a blocked route, it does not argue with the obstacle. It flows around it. Plan B is that kind of intelligence. It is flexible, intentional, and forward-moving. Growth often demands a pivot. What once felt like the right direction can slowly become restrictive. The vision you had may still be valid, but the environment may no longer be capable of supporting it. Plan B honors the vision while changing the route. It says, I still believe in where I'm going. I'm just choosing a wiser way to get there. There is also self-respect in having a plan B. It means you refuse to tie your entire identity to one role, one organization, or one outcome. You acknowledge that your value is bigger than any single opportunity. You stop begging for space and start creating it. Many people stay stuck because they fear being misunderstood. They worry others will see their shift as quitting, running, or failing. But people who are committed to growth understand that staying in a place that diminishes you is far more damaging than leaving quietly to build something better. Plan B often begins in silence. It starts with learning new skills, expanding your thinking, and investing in yourself when no one is watching. It is not announced, it is prepared. While others are comfortable, you are building options. While others are distracted, you are becoming versatile. There is courage in starting again, especially when you have already invested time, effort, and emotion. But courage is not always loud. That sometimes it looks like a chapter that has taught you everything it could, and choosing to write a new one with intention. Plan B also protects your peace. It removes you from constant frustration, resentment, and waiting. It shifts your energy from survival to creativity. Instead of reacting to decisions you cannot control, you begin designing a future you can. Failure drains you. Strategy strengthens you. And Plan B, when chosen consciously, does exactly that. It aligns your actions with your self-worth. It reminds you that you are allowed to outgrow places, people. In the end, Plan B is not about starting over from nothing. It is about starting over with clarity, with experience, with insight, with strength you did not have before. Choosing Plan B is not an admission of defeat. It is a declaration of self-belief. In a world that constantly demands reactions, announcements, and justifications, silence is often misunderstood. People assume that if you are quiet, you are weak, confused, or defeated. But in reality, silence can be one of the strongest positions you will ever take. Not every move requires a statement, and not every decision needs an audience. Silence is power because it protects your energy. Every explanation you give to the wrong person costs you something. It drains focus, invites unnecessary opinions, and opens doors to doubt that never needed to exist. When you are in a season of transition, your energy is too valuable to waste on convincing people who have already decided how they see you. Explaining yourself often comes from the desire to be understood. That desire is human, but there is a difference between clarity and over-justification. When you explain too much, you place your self-worth in someone else's interpretation. Silence, on the other hand, keeps your authority intact. It says, I trust my process enough not to defend it. Some people only listen so they can respond, judge, or compare. They are not invested in your growth, only in your compliance. Silence removes their access. It allows you to move without interference, without unsolicited advice, and without the pressure to perform progress before it is ready. Silence also creates space for strategy. When you are not busy talking, you are observing. You notice patterns, you see intentions more clearly. You gain insight into who supports you and who only supports versions at you that benefit them. This awareness is invaluable. There is strength in letting results speak. Words can be doubted, questioned, and dismissed, but results are undeniable. Silence buys you time to build quietly, to improve without scrutiny, and to emerge stronger than expected. Many powerful transformations happen away from the spotlight. People often underestimate silence because they confuse it with passivity. But silence is not inaction. It is controlled movement. It is choosing timing over impulse. It is knowing that not every thought needs to be shared and not every plan needs approval. When you stop explaining, you also stop negotiating your boundaries. You no longer feel obligated to soften your decisions for the comfort of others. You accept that being misunderstood is sometimes the cost of staying true to yourself, and that cost is worth paying. Silence teaches patience. It reminds you that growth is not always immediate and that not everyone deserves front row access to your journey. Some chapters are meant to be private so they can develop without pressure. There is also dignity in restraint. When you choose silence over reaction, you rise above unnecessary conflict. You conserve emotional energy for what truly matters. You respond thoughtfully rather than react emotionally. In the end, silence is not about hiding. It is about protecting. Protecting your vision, your peace, and your next level. You do not owe everyone an explanation for choosing yourself. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Every visible comeback starts in an invisible place. Long before applause returns, before recognition arrives, and before results appear, something shifts internally. This is the phase most people overlook, yet it is the most important one. The real comeback is not external, it is internal. It begins in your mindset, your self-belief, and the quiet decisions you make when no one is watching. When you are overlooked or replaced, the first battle is not with the world, it is within yourself. Doubt tries to move in. Comparison whispers questions. Confidence feels shaken. This is where many people lose momentum because they wait for the outside to change before they allow the inside to heal. But strength works the opposite way. Inner alignment must come first. An internal comeback starts with honesty. You acknowledge the disappointment without letting it define you. You allow yourself to feel the hurt, but you do not build a home there. Instead, you ask deeper questions. What did this experience teach me? What strengths did it reveal? What am I being prepared for? These questions shift you from victimhood to awareness. Belief is rebuilt in private. It happens when you choose discipline over discouragement, when you show up for yourself on days when motivation is low, when you keep learning, improving, and refining your skills even when no one is rewarding you yet. This is where resilience is formed. The internal comeback also requires releasing resentment. Holding on to bitterness ties you emotionally to the very situation you are trying to rise above. Letting go is not approval of what happened. It is freedom from its control. Peace becomes your foundation, and from that foundation, clarity grows. Confidence that is rebuilt internally is different. It is quieter, steadier, and less dependent on validation. You no longer need constant reassurance because your belief is self-sustaining. You trust your timing. You trust your process. You trust yourself. Vision sharpens during this phase. Without external noise, you reconnect with what truly matters to you. Your goals become clearer. Your standards rise. You begin to see opportunities you would have missed if you were still focused on proving yourself to the wrong audience. When the internal work is done, the external shift happens naturally. You move differently. You speak with calm authority. You make decisions with intention rather than fear. People notice, even if they cannot explain why. The world often celebrates the comeback moment, but it never sees the preparation behind it. The early mornings, the quiet discipline, the mindset shifts, the self-correction, the patience. Yet these unseen efforts are what make the comeback sustainable. An internal comeback ensures that when success returns, it does not destabilize you. You are grounded. You are aligned. You are ready. Remember this, before the world sees your rise, you must believe in it first. The strongest comebacks are built from the inside out. What looks like a setback is often the beginning of a powerful transformation. Being overlooked, underestimated, or replaced can feel like a personal loss, but in reality, it is a moment of awakening. It forces you to see clearly, to reassess your direction, and to reconnect with your true value. Rejection redirected you. Silence protected you. Plan B empowered you, and the internal comeback rebuilt you. Each phase served a purpose, even when it felt uncomfortable. You were not pushed aside, you were pushed forward. Leadership is not proven by a title, and worth is not confirmed by approval. True growth happens when you choose yourself. Move with intention and trust your timing. When you stop waiting to be chosen and start building from within, everything changes. This is not the end of your story. It is the moment the story gains depth, strength, and meaning. What was meant to break you has refined you. And when the next chapter unfolds, it will not need explanation. Your growth will speak.